Hey everyone and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, MtoA 509, I will be showing you how to create realistic leaves and foliage shaders. So I will be using Quixel Megascans library because they have really high-res textures and assets, and for this tutorial I will be using a leaf atlas. So there is in library you can search for leaves and you've got several different types of leaves, and I will be using something similar to this, which is an atlas of textures, which means they fit in one UV space and you have different geometry which are moved to that UV space so you can actually render them. So I have downloaded something from here. I'm not sure exactly which one. And if you want to follow along this tutorial step by step, you would need to sign up here, and maybe they actually have something in the free section. And you can just download a free leaf asset or something and follow along. The technique is kind of the same, right? Before we start, I have a light shader toolbox, which should help look dev and lighting artists to work in Maya and also in Nuke and Katana. Currently, there's not much in these ones, but Maya is the strongest. I also have a few OSL shaders in here, which you can just install, and then it shows up in Maya in your menu, in your shelf, or in your menu bar actually. Also, there is a Slack group. And it would be nice if you would join, because I'm starting a small community on Slack, which has already a few members. So you can pose questions, you can ask for feedback, whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to do. So we've got 170 members so far. Yeah, so feel free to join us here. This is not about me posting stuff. This is more a community thing where we share information, which can be very helpful for sure. Okay, so into the tutorial. So I have just modeled a plane. It's really basic, a plane with these subdivisions. What I did, I don't want to do it to show you because it's a bit of tedious work, but what I did, I moved each UV space for each object into the proper position for the leaves. I will show you what I did, but I won't do it per se. Okay, so first what I do, let's go to the hyper shade. Like this, I have to dock everything because I just have limited space here, as you can see. Okay, so that's the UV editor. Okay, so, and this is the viewport. So the first thing what I want to do is I want to get the textures into Maya. So I have my Finder or Explorer window, and what I want to do, I just want to select all the maps which I downloaded from Quixel Megascans. I'll just drop them into the Hypershade, and I arrange them, and this is what I get. Bump, albedo, normal, translucency, displacement, roughness, and opacity. And just to show you how I actually got them, let's just do it rather quick. I go to Atlas, I scroll down to a leaf section, and I chose the highest res, and I chose EXRs for all, and I just hit download. Obviously you don't need all the maps, but I just downloaded them all now. So I guess we will be using albedo, which is diffuse color. We will be using displacement. We will be using translucency, roughness, and opacity. So we might skip these two ones because we can generate a pretty good bump map from the displacement map. All right, so the first thing what I like to do is create a shader, AI standard surface shader, and let's move these guys over. Let's rename this guy to AI leaf shader. And now if you go to light shaders or you do it manually, you can actually rename the shading engine, select it, and it just takes the name of the shader and updates the name. Some convenience things. So let's connect the albedo, color, out color. I can't see it. Out color to base color. And let's just open the outliner, select all the leaves, and assign this guy. Okay, so this is now what happens. You can see it in the viewport that this plane has this texture assigned. And I will show you it with one single plane, how I did it, and then you can imagine how I did the rest, right? So here's a plane. I scale it up and scale it like this, move it here just for the reference sake, and I assign the same shader. And you can see the default behavior is like this. So you get all the textures spread out on the whole model. So what I did, I selected the UVs in the UV editor, and I just scale them down and then move them to a single leaf, and then I fit it so it's matching, right? So this is what I did for all the different 16 leaves. And then it looks like this. Okay, so to just show you the other leaves quickly, I'll just be unhiding them for a second, and you can see how they look in the viewport, right? All the leaves are there. So let's just undo. So I have my selection back and save this guy. Okay. So the next thing, I just have the albedo now connected. I don't need to show you the UV editor. And okay, so let's just do it one by one so that we see what's going on. So the first thing which has a main impact is displacement. So let's connect this up first. That's the way I like to work. I do the big surface changes or model changes first, and then I do the smaller things after, like roughness or bump map or things like that. Okay, so let's connect up the displacement. I open it up, and I want to connect the out color red, the red channel of the displacement, and connect that to a displacement shader. So displacement shader, you don't need the shading engine, you can delete that, and connect the red channel to displacement, and the output of that goes into the displacement shader of the shading engine. So this is now the basic setup, and let's just save and render, and then we see how this looks like. Okay. So this is now the current, let's just do 50% it is. And let's just go to basic mode, and you can see what's happening. The geo is being displaced, and there seems to be a normal map as well. So in the shading engine, actually, you have the option to generate a normal map on the fly. So if I disable auto bump, you see that there's no displacement happening, but the normal map happening, but you still see the displacement. So let's see the wireframe. This is now what it currently looks like. So we don't have enough detail to see anything relevant here. So what you can do now, you can go to each shape and enable subdivisions, which is by default off. But I don't want to do it one by one for all the leaves. I'll use the attribute controller in the light shader script library. And in here, I can actually go to mesh, subdivisions, and enable cat clock, and also add some iterations. So let's just do 3 set, and you can see what's going on right on the fly. This is now the subdivisions for that leaf. And I think this is okay. Let's increase the displacement amount. I'm going into the shader, displacement shader, and I'm increasing the scale. Let's go up to 5. So you can see the whole leaf got shifted upwards. And the problem is because the 0 value is not adjusted. And in the shader, you can set this to 0.5, which is the zero value. And then you can see that it is working. So if I now reduce this displacement amount, this is what's happening. You can see that, right? Okay, so let's just go something like this. I think this looks pretty cool as a displacement. Also, it's good enough in detail. So the biggest detail comes now from little microscopic details, and you get that from the bump. So I enable the bump now, and you can see the nice effect we'll see on it. So we actually have maybe a bit too strong effect. So let's just dial this one down a bit. I'm not sure why the basic is responding so strong to light. This is now the lighting pass. Occlusion should be nothing. Yeah, so this is what it looks like. I think it's pretty neat. Shading is not happening too much just yet. Okay, so I guess the next thing would be to do the cutout. And let's connect the shader, the opacity, to the opacity slot in the AI standard. So out color goes to opacity, and let's see how that one looks. It's like a simple black and white map, right? But why doesn't it work? The thing is, it doesn't work because Arnold has this opaque switch, which defines transparent shadows, and also will work with this cutout effect. So let's select all the leaves. You would do it one by one if you go to the shape and disable opaque. So I'm just doing it for all the ones, opening attribute control again, and going to mesh, and I will do it off. And now you can see we get the cutout immediately. This is the bottom, this is the top, and you can see it almost looks like a leaf now. So the next thing would be to hook up the roughness. Let's do that. So the red channel goes into the specular roughness slot. And this is now the mapped roughness channel. So this is how it looks like. And I think leaves are a bit more shiny than that, so we can actually adjust it. So to do that, I will create an AI range, which is a remap or a new grade node. And I'll connect the out color of this guy to the input, and then I from here take the red channel and go to the spec roughness. So this is kind of currently just a bridge, but now we will do the adjustments, right? So I go in here, and I like to bring in some black values, which are super shiny now, and then I also like to bring in more rough values. So we actually just increase the contrast. So now it should look a bit weird and way too strong, but now we can actually increase the output min value, so we bring in overall roughness, but we still have these high pings. Let's see how the map looks. You see we get these darker spots and we have the high pings, and we can get more dark spots if we clamp it a bit more. But obviously this is up to you how far you want to push it. Okay, so this is now how the leaf looks like and behaves on grazing angles. And leaves are pretty shiny, to be honest. So it might be different, like more dust on the leaves or more, I don't know, resin, I think it's called, tree resin. So there are different options, and obviously you can for sure play with these values to get a stronger or less strong effect. And then you can change the overall clamp. Let's see what we got here. Yeah, now I'm just messing it up again. So let's just do this quickly again. So this is the default. Some more pings. Let's see what we got. Okay, and we just overall want to increase the roughness like this. Okay, so we got these pings and we have roughness. So this is pretty cool. So and the next step would be to control the subsurface scattering or the backlighting. So this is currently what it looks like. So to test it properly, what I like to do is I just like to create a sphere, move it here and up so you can actually see it. And then in the renderer, you can see it's casting a shadow. And from the bottom, there's nothing going on. So let's connect the translucency map to the subsurface color. So currently nothing happening because on default the subsurface scattering is off. So I just change the base color. So to subsurface, let's bring that in. So now you can see that we can see the sphere shadow onto the backside of the leaf. So this is now what's happening. And I think it's a bit too soft, so you can control it with the radius now. So if you have a radius of 0, very low, when the ray hits the surface, the radius defines how much does it spread inside the material. So that's why you get these hard shadows, because there is almost no diffusion. So if you increase the radius, you can see that the edge gets softer and you see more diffusion happening. So this is how you would control it. And I think we can control the map a bit. So let's just create a AI color correct in between. So we connect the out color to the input and then the out color of that to the subsurface color. Oh, that was the wrong one. Color correct, not convert. So let's do this again. Okay. So this is now the bridge. And now let's just increase the exposure a bit, just to make these SSS a bit stronger. And maybe shift the colors a bit towards green. Okay, so now this is now on the top. And honestly, I think this is looking too waxy. So what I always do is, especially for these leaf things, I'll just reduce the effect of subsurface scattering to I don't know, 0.7 or something around here, just that it has some diffuse contribution as well as subsurface scattering. So you get both worlds, right? And this would kind of be the leaf. So let's see how the other leaves look like if I unhide those. Okay, so this is now the other leaves, and I picked a pretty dark one. So let's see how this one looks like. And you can see you get these nice pings on it, and it's working pretty neat. So let's see if I move like one leaf above the other. And you can see that it is actually behaving properly. And if we do it the other way around, you can see it's working very nice. And if let's just copy this tail of a copy so it's floating. And if I now select the sphere, there we go. And you can see it's actually also bouncing off it. Big sphere. And I think the overall effect is pretty nice. And especially if you have lots of leaves on top of each other, you get this nice effect of doubling up translucency. And I also have this reference image, which I took today. If I can get this on top. And you can see like especially this leaf is like dark from the top, and then it's actually back scattering this light green. And you can see some shadowing happening here as well. And this is pretty diffuse lighting. There was no direct sunlight. So in this environment here we have actually pretty direct sun. You can see it on the sphere, how direct it is lit. Yeah, so this would be the way to actually do shading shading leaves using opacity maps. Sorry about that. And yeah, so I also have a final render, which I did before. Let's see how that looks. Yeah, so this would be the final leaves. They might be a bit too shiny, but that's up to you, so you can control it. And yeah, so I hope you did enjoy this quick tutorial on how to create proper leaves using opacity maps and creating or using backlighting with subsurface scattering with Arnold 5 and actually the latest MtoA, which is version 2.022 and core version 5.1.4. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. And if you haven't done so, share it on your social media just to get out the word. So thank you guys for tuning in and see you in the next one.